Hello everyone, this is Professor Hill. It's a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College. This is the online version of the class for the fall 2018 semester. And today is Wednesday, October the 17th. Oh my. So we're going to be talking about Chapter 5 in our textbook, Doing Ethics by Lewis Vaughn, and looking at the case study because your contributions are due tonight. It's Wednesday the 17th. And you need to get your essay in by midnight tonight. And don't forget to comment on at least 2 of your classmates. Again, most everybody sorted this all out. We're at midterm already. So make sure that it's 500 words. Make sure you comment on 2 of your classmates. Make sure, again, and this is important, I still had this problem last time, and it's not a small problem. You got to contribute your essay first, and then go in and comment on at least 2 of your classmates. You got to do it. You got to do it in that order. So please do. Anyway, where we are, though, is talking about the Nash family, which is the case study that's due today, your comments on it. And it turns out that, like I said yesterday, a lot of students start this problem by thinking, look, this is an issue from some parents. They had a sick daughter. They did what they had to do to take care of their daughter. End of story. Yeah, but of course, it's more complicated than that. I want to talk about why that's the case, in part because at the time, they were the first couple to go through this process with the intention of creating a human being, and the process is in vitro fertilization, where they were going to create several small embryos. So this is going to be post-conception. They're going to take egg and sperm, put them together, and then they're going to test them for a couple of things. Number one, they're going to test to make sure that this new baby that they're going to create, Adam, doesn't have the same genetic problems that the sister Molly did. They're trying to save Molly. Molly has Fanconi anemia, so they're going to test to make sure that genetically that's not there. And so if they're testing these new frozen embryos and they're like, aha, this one's got it, they shove that one aside. Keep going. Now, then they get down to, all right, well, they also have to have a tissue match. So again, they want to make sure that this isn't rejected. They want to make sure that the human being they create has exactly the right genetic makeup to fix the problems and that they can use in this gene therapy for Molly. So it's a selection process. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned that in vitro fertilization, which most couples are going through because they're having trouble with fertility, they want to have a baby, and this is a process by where they can get much better results than just trying naturally. That what happens is when they do this, it's often the case where they'll do many different embryos, implant several to make sure that at least one takes, because oftentimes more than one's lost in the process. Doesn't implant properly in the uterine wall, for example. And it's one of the reasons why you end up with multiple births, oftentimes as a result of this. But some parents, as they go through the process, will create a bunch, freeze some, like I said, in liquid nitrogen, implant some, and then once you get a couple that are established and looking good, again, select down to whether you just want one or twins or triplets. And it's a process with lots of collateral issues. But even apart from that selection down piece, in normal IVF, in vitro fertilization process, you end up with lots of these frozen embryos. They're in cryopreservation and liquid nitrogen, and they're in labs. And I guess I mentioned yesterday, there's hundreds of thousands of these now around the United States. So I mentioned the problem yesterday. If you believe that life begins at conception, which is a big factor in this case, then it raises some issues you got to address. Like, for example, if you're talking about full personhood with full human rights from the moment of conception, What does that mean? Does that mean that there are hundreds of thousands of people who are being held not hostage because the law treats them as property? This got settled early on in a divorce case where a couple had started the process, froze a bunch of embryos, then had trouble in their marriage and ended up getting divorced. In the property settlement, the wife says, I want all those embryos. And the husband's like, why? And I said, well, I'm getting married to this new guy and we're going to keep trying the process. And he's like, no, no, no. He said, yeah, I don't want that at all. And so the judge had to decide, well, first of all, what are these? Are they property? Are they children? Should they be handled like adoptions? And the judge said, no, look, this is property. You each get half. And the husband, who said, I'm going to take my half and destroy them, said, you can't give her half. If she implants them, I'll be having kids against my wishes. To which the judge says, well, you should have thought of that when you created them in the first place. Not the answer he was looking for. But it turns out there's all kinds of other issues. And I want to talk today just briefly, because this is another interesting issue that the technology presents us with this problem. You freeze these things and they stay frozen for a long time. Last year, Thanksgiving 2017, so, right about a year ago, it turns out that a young baby was born, Emma Wren Gibson. She was born Thanksgiving last year. But she had been created and frozen 25 years before that. 1992, she was conceived and then frozen. And then through a process, which is sometimes called embryo adoption, but it's not really called that legally. It's transfer. It's all handled by property rights. Because again, it's property. These aren't adoption of children. It's a transfer of property under the law. But she was implanted 25 years later and was born. So now here's the thing. She's now about a year old. Under our current law, when you turn 67 years old, you have legal rights under federal law to Social Security. Yeah, you know where this is going. Now, 67 years old, it used to be 65, they raised it. But now, 67 years from now, well, not from now, but from last year, she would become eligible. She'll turn 67 in November of 2084 and would start pulling down Social Security rights and, money, federal benefits. But hold on a minute. Wasn't she already 25 years old? Because if you really want to start and be consistent with life begins at conception, you got to say, she's 26 years old now. To a mom who's 27, by the way, there's only a year difference. She was created and frozen in 92, and her mom was born in 91. But look, let's say that you say, no, we're going to be consistent. That's when she was conceived. That's when she became a person. Well, then she'd be eligible for those benefits in 2059. That's only 41 years from now. That is not a small problem. This is a real person, and this is a real issue. So I'm not like making this up. This is some theoretical story. I'm saying 41 years from now, she's going to show up and say, give me that money. But look, that's just the one case we know about. Emma Wren Gibson. That's a real person, living, breathing today. What happens though if you wait into the future at some point and somebody, let's say 41 years from now, implants an embryo that's, 66 years old and is born at 67 and on day one says, give me my retirement check. This is really going to help buy diapers for me. Diapers and formula. Mom and dad are going to love this. You can see that these are problems. Now, again, right now, legally speaking, before they're implanted, it's handled through property issues and property law. Once they're implanted, it's not till they're born that the law says, okay, now you're born, now you're a human being, you start to get rights. But that's exactly what's at issue in this battle between people saying, look, we all know the science. This isn't a battle about the science. We all know exactly the biology and the chemistry and how this all works. Hey, there's films of it on YouTube. Knock yourself out. You can watch every step of the way as eggs get fertilized with little sperm. Man, I'm telling you, you can watch it on YouTube. So we're not debating the science or what happens. We're debating what it means. When does human personhood begin? At no point in that process is there a little tiny sign that pops up and says, now it's a human being. But there are all kinds of social issues and social consequences to that decision. And I got to tell you, lots of legislators who are pro-life and think life begins at conception also want to back up and go, now hold on a minute, just make sure we're clear about this. I only mean it for some things and not others. I'm opposed to abortion, but I'm also opposed to paying out a bunch of money in Social Security benefits. It's not a small issue. Now, the Nash family. This was all kicking around in there, and I've already seen some of the folks have already put up their contributions. Their essays are up, and people are wrestling both with this particular case and the related fictionalized version, My Sister's Keeper, and how there's some similarities and also some differences there. But I want us to think in terms of the chapter, the moral theories we've been looking at, and the consequences. We're approaching this through a non-consequentialist kind of principle-based or rule-based approach. I mentioned all this stuff about the frozen embryos and the federal benefits and everything because there are significant real-life consequences, and it's happening now. Like I said, they're not imaginary or academic cases. These are real people kicking around raising real issues. So take all of that into consideration when you write your essay. If you've got questions, I'll be checking it up to the deadline. But again, like I said, some people are already off to a good start. If you've got questions, let me know. And I look forward to talking more about this tomorrow after we get them all in. So in the meantime, take care. Good luck writing those essays. Get them in. They're due. Bye-bye.